What's up, guys? Thank you for showing up to the Justin Wenzel Podcast. On this show, we like to bring guests on that have crazy stories from going from rock bottom to where they're at today, how they can use the experience that they've been through to help other people. And today we have a fantastic guest. Shane, what's happening, dude?
Thanks for having me, Justin. It's awesome being here, bro.
Yeah, this is cool, man.
Yeah.
We've been talking about doing this for a little while now, and I'm glad we were able to make it happen. And thanks for coming to lunch with us and everything like that, too.
Hell yeah, dude.
So I want to jump into a couple things. You're actually you have an interesting story, and you have a pretty it's a pretty cool situation you have, from being firefighter to gym owner to now coach. Obviously, I want to touch a little bit on recovery and all of that. But I want to kind of hear your story. What got you into becoming a firefighter? What was Tiny Shane like? Let's start right there.
Tiny Shane. Well, again, man, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and express some of the story. I think early childhood for me was an alcoholic father, somebody who kind of disappeared out of life. And by the time I was 8, my mom had met my stepdad, and we moved to California. And
where were you originally?
Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. So my family all grew up in Phoenix. I still have a few uncles and aunts there, but the majority of my side of the family has passed away, grandparents, things like that. So now California life, man, I was 8, had a stepdad, and honestly just was fairly normal upbringing at that point. River trips, lots of fun with the family, getting out on the summers, and had no family in the fire service, nothing that was like drawing me towards that world. My mom was a teacher, my dad was a salesman. I ended up being an envelope salesman at the end of his career, and essentially like put large business deals together for companies to mail all their worked for Mead, West Mead, and another company merged. So bottom line is, at the end of his life, or at the end of his career, he was working out of the house. And as a teenager, I kind of saw his lifestyle. We were going to the river a lot. Introduced alcohol into the picture a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And but I overall, growing up, I thought that was all fairly normal. Mom was a teacher, dad worked, had an older sister, 4.5 years older. So, relationship wise, different friends, different groups type thing. Mm-hmm. But Norco, California is is where we ended up, and it was a cool place to grow up, actually. Dirt bikes and a little bit of horses, a little more rural. Yeah, that rural atmosphere. We didn't have sidewalks. We had fucking horse trails, and it was
big high school.
High school, a lot of pride in Norco High School. Smaller. We all pretty much knew each other. And football was a big deal.
You play football?
I did not. I was actually, I was a late bloomer when it comes to like really just, becoming like a man and adult. Okay. I think I was probably 19 and people thought I was 15 years old, Okay. I was like,
smaller stature.
Yeah, and I didn't carry a lot of weight, and even pursuing the fire service at that point as a teenager, I had times where people, it wasn't because of my height, I just really wasn't a big guy. I didn't, I was a 150 pound 19-year-old or something like that,
So that's when you got into fire, was when you were 19?
So high school led me to an ROP program, a regional occupational program.
Okay.
And it was badass. I got introduced into an ROP, regional occupational program for firefighting. It was an elected class that I could take. And so my junior year and senior year, I did this ROP firefighting thing where I got exposed to the fire service.
So what year would have that been?
That was 94, 95.
Okay.
Between 93, 94, 95. I graduated high school in 1995. So
to be a Southern California firefighter, and what was the first town that you were in?
Actually, for me, so I went to my school counselor and I said, I want to be a firefighter. And they said, flipping through papers, and they're like, we don't really have a path for that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So there was no one really to guide me. So I go home.
Well, that's interesting, because obviously that's a super, super important job, especially in Southern California.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the busiest out of all. And by the way, they take pretty good care of you guys too. So it's crazy to think like the school wouldn't have a.
Yeah. I mean, even when I was bringing some of my research to the table with my school counselor, like, oh, hey, there's Crafton Hills Fire Academy, there's Rio Hondo Fire Academy. Like I had done some research where I could go, and they had nothing. They had no real information to provide on what the path would be, what the prerequisites were, anything, right?
Right.
So it kind of opened my eyes that I'm like, all right, well, if I'm gonna go down this path, I'm gonna have to probably ask a little bit. Now, backtrack just a little. My sister's in college. What exposed me to even wanting to go into the ROP program is she met a guy who worked for San Bernardino County Fire Department and was dating him. He came by the house a few times, ended up breaking up with this guy, ended up being kind of a douchey dude. But I will always say his best friend started dating my sister's best friend, and they ended up getting married. And that guy ended up being kind of a mentor to me to like at least get me, hey, this is what you need to do, or hey, here's your next step, or little things that were tips that, hey, go to the fire station, dress appropriately, be ready to answer some questions, take these guys some ice cream, let them help you, and you know, basically bring them something to say thank you.
Yeah. Wow. That's
so
cool.
I was given some tips on how to like go get some information and essentially get my feet wet with what a fire service career, or at least exploring that career, would look like, you know?
That's cool. That's really cool. Do you keep in touch with that guy?
I do. Actually, he retired about 2 years ago from Riverside Fire as a captain. And yeah, we ended up running into each other on calls because I was in the city of Corona. He was in Riverside. So every time the fucking Riverside Hills would burn, you know, luck of the draw, if we're both on duty, we might end up at a base camp where we'd end up seeing each other, classes over the years, things like that. But in general, it was funny, late in life, I got an opportunity to express that to him. Like, you were a major influence in me being able to like achieve this as a goal that I had at that time, you know?
For people that are watching this that maybe have only vacationed in California, maybe they've never even been to California, maybe they see everything that goes on in the news and all of that. I mean, fill us in on kind of from your perspective, what it's like to deal with the stuff that we deal with, because no other state really sees it like we do.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is when I became a fireman, let's see, I got hired in the city of Corona in 2001. And I remember every year, everyone the fire service would always say, it's going to be the worst fire season yet, right? It's going to be worse than last year. It's going to be, right? And so over time, you know, obviously as a young fireman, you're like, yeah, it's going to be bad, right? Like you just kind of like getting doctored into this idea. And obviously there's a shit ton of classes that we take on wildland firefighting, you know, what to expect, weather conditions, just all kinds of different aspects that California is known for, especially Southern California. Certain types of wind conditions, Santa Ana winds, different things that happen, right? So what happens as a firefighter is you start to expect the weather patterns and the different things to affect. And you really get this mentality that's just going to be bad. Oh, we haven't had much rain, or we've had a lot of rain. They both affect everything, right? You get a lot of rain, you get a lot of flashy fuels growing, and then all of a sudden you get a lot of quick action fires. You get enough drought for a long time, then you get shit burning that normally wouldn't burn, and it can get, you know, really ugly and bad, you know? So the preparation for that over the years was almost like we almost just always told ourselves it's just going to be worse. It's always going to be worse. We're going to be busier next year. We're going to be busier. So when I started at Corona Fire, I think we ran about 7,000 calls a year. And my last year when I was there, we were more than double. I think we were about 17,000 calls a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And we only added 2 fire stations during my 25 years of being an active firefighter.
Really?
Yeah. So it wasn't the amount of stations that we ran. It's just that Corona grew, and the amount of calls and the amount of work that we were expected to do just became more and more and more.
I see.
Yeah.
I just this last the last fires we had in LA, I was watching a number of things, and of course everybody has like their points of how it started, who started it. Mm-hmm. But I heard an interesting one that was the meth heads.
Oh, okay.
That they just love starting fires.
Well, there's no doubt that, the city of Corona and the drugs, homeless, all those issues, dude, if we were able to solve that aspect as a society, that would have probably reduced 5,000-6,000 calls a year, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So right, running on homeless people and drug addicts and I guess people that are in a bad place for whatever reason is a huge aspect of what we're doing, right? Jack of all trades, master of none. When 911 gets called and it's not really a police issue, it's not really a fire or go to the hospital, they still call up. We still go solve the problem.
Yeah.
99% of them call the fire department.
And I mean, obviously it's funny because like you're front line of technically healthcare, right? And yet you guys take the beating. Your bodies, the stress. I mean, talk to me about that a little bit. Yeah.
So it's interesting how the fire service. So when little Shane came into the fire service, I didn't know what, mental things were going on there right? I just knew that fire service is cool, great job, good benefits. I wasn't even really wrapping my head around all that for later in life. I just was told, hey, you get a retirement, you get these things, this is great, and hell, man, this looks like a fun job.
Action-packed, running into a fire, saving people.
I was into fitness, but it wasn't like my general, I want to be a fireman because I love fitness. I like the overall aspect of service. That was probably what really drew me to the fire service. I would have been a teacher. I would have probably followed my mom's footsteps and become a teacher if I hadn't become a firefighter. But being of service to people I think was what generally motivated me. No doubt I was a 20-year-old kid thinking that's going to be cool, fucking working on a fire engine, Yeah. And as that grew, again, so you go back to having certain things that you grew up with and ideologies, and then you get in the fire service, and depending on, who you're working with, even the bureaucracy of some of that, as that running the calls, feeling like you're being of service. Over time, you realize there's red tape, there's different things that are happening. You don't get to provide services the way you want. Training is getting in the way of. For example, Justin, there was a time when we were on some training. You get a call for a 911 baby in a pool or something crazy. Oof. And we're out of position. And then even those little things start to wear on you shit, here we are, we're training, we're doing our job to get better, but yet we were out of position when we should have been there to go help someone else. Now, I'm not saying that that's a common thing, but when those things happen, they drastically affect you as a human being, because that's my whole job now, is to be there to be of service to other people. So over the course of my career, as these little things would happen, I didn't realize how deeply, you run a call and you're now second guessing, man, we did everything we could with that guy. Everything went great. All the drugs got pushed on time. The CPR went awesome, and we still didn't save that person, right? And so those times when those things are happening and the wear and tear on mentally, you ask about the physicality. I've had multiple injuries throughout my career. And really what truly was ending my career towards the end was a neck injury. I have a C6, C7 impinged nerve. Causes a lot of numbness and tingling on the right side. And depending on how I'm taking care of myself, it can be worse or better. Climbing in and out of fire engines, sitting upright in fire engines, having air packs on, helmets on, it absolutely is starting to take that toll on my body, But the biggest one, if I really were to say, I didn't really realize that I was totally affected by PTSD. And so you go back to my journey. I get in the fire service. I get asked right away. I get on a crew. I'm with the union president. Union president ends up loving me. That's my personality. I'm a talker. People in the community know me. And I love alcohol. So together, getting off work. Yeah, getting off work, being able to drink, bro down, and talk game on how we're going to make Corona Fire, not only the best it can be, how we're going to serve the community. I got a lot of great mentorship from this man. He was a fucking phenomenal person, a great mentor. He was a union president for a reason, but he also absolutely knows how to use his people. And I do feel that in that sense, I was kind of groomed and used for my abilities to be a political action director. And man, that ended up perpetuating my alcoholism to another level.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So between that and the PTSD.
Yeah, the PTSD was a coping, alcohol was a coping mechanism early in those moments when I'd get off work and I was going home to my family and I felt like stress, and I was turning to alcohol as my stress relief.
And then you accelerate it with the social side of it.
Then you put me in a position of power, tell me I'm a big deal because I can go and talk to these officials and educate them on fire service related issues, why they needed to vote the ways they did, why we have 4 people on a fire engine, what all these things mean. See, ended up being that politics ended up becoming one of those things that became very important to me in my fire service career.
Oh, really?
Mostly because I worked with this union president for several years, and that was his whole agenda. So here I am on a crew, and I get fed this information constantly, and I'm a young fireman that's being groomed into this ideology. Like, this is what we're going to do.
Explain the ideology a little bit more. Like, what are some of the details of things that you would try to be persuaded?
Okay, so this is exactly how it was. He told me, I learned very early in my fire service career that there was something called, in his opinion, an access of power, right? And so everyone has bosses, and we all have, in the fire service, we have something called span of control, right? So you have a fire chief, you have a deputy chief, generally. He'll have battalion chiefs underneath him. It could be a wide range of battalion chiefs. And then those battalion chiefs will be assigned captains. Captains have crews. And then crews are even broken down. Engineers sometimes will be in charge of how the floor is ran and running the day. So this whole span of control happens in the fire service. He dictated to me that there's a span of control within community. And so the community is our boss, right? The people that elect the officials. And so if we own the people, right? If the fire service has the power to influence the people, then we can influence the politics.
Oh.
Right? So our whole goal, what I was taught early on, is to be of service, right? We provide the best service. We come out there, we deliver 911 service, and we do it great, right? That's our job. Ultimately, then we go look out in the community and say, how can we be more of service to these people and provide more value so that they really truly believe in us as firefighters, so that when we tell them that these are the people that we believe in, that bring the right message to the fire service, that protect all of you, you should vote for these people.
Oh, I see.
Right. So that aspect to me was very interesting, because it wasn't, I didn't realize when I got in the fire service working on a fire engine to go out and save people from fires or other related issues, that I would end up getting groomed into this political action director with a kind of a different perception of why we're doing what we're doing. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So for part of me, I didn't care. I mean, it made sense. And alcohol, at that point in my life, wasn't a problem. It was my solution.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it always is, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never seen it that way, right? Because like from the public looking in, it's like, your government workers, right? Like it's the, your first responders, but you don't realize that there is political control. Now looking at it, you can definitely see how it could be. And you see during election periods, right, and things like that you guys are very present.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that there was that much influence.
Yeah, and I didn't until I got into it. And then I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, right? It becomes a little bit ego driven, especially an alcoholic, right? Someone who is fueled by alcohol. Now this firefighter, this engineer, this community member, this person is, I'm feeling like I'm fairly important with the message that I have to go deliver, because if we don't get the right officials elected, there's a chance that we might not be delivering the right service, right? And that was kind of what I was fed very early in my fire service career. And I think that when I gave up alcohol, when life spiraled out of control, 12, 13, 14 years into the fire service, drinking, that had to be taken away from me. I couldn't be the political action director anymore. And I wanted to still be. I ran for the position after certain events happened, right? And we can get into that, but certain events happened and it became very obvious to the fire service that I was struggling. I was having a drinking problem. And when that happened, even though I was the golden boy that did all these things and made all these things happen and kept all this together and was absolutely an asset, all of a sudden I was looked at very differently. You got a DUI. There's something going on with you and there's a problem.
Well, yeah.
And there was.
Well, yeah, normal people don't get DUIs.
Right, yeah. And there absolutely was. I was absolutely in a spiral and I needed help. And I was so afraid to make it public, so afraid.
Sure. Yeah, well, especially in the community site like that and being a political action director, that's
right. So much that I felt like was going to come back to me like in so many people's eyes, I'm being groomed to be the next union president, and all of a sudden alcohol just derails this.
So tell me about that, because alcoholism is a progressive illness. How did it start to really progress? Like when was it you started noticing it big time?
Very early in my career.
Very really?
Early, yeah. Very early. I think I always enjoyed alcohol. Early, go back high school days, still stealing a little puff of weed here and there and doing that thing and living that way was okay. I didn't typically love alcohol in high school. But when I made the decision to become a fireman, it was very easy for me to say, okay, cool. I'm not going to smoke weed, but alcohol is legal and this is what people do. Yeah. And so early in my fire service career, as soon as I realized I'm here, I've kind of arrived in this position and the lifestyle started. Oh man, I was newly married, hadn't had kids yet. I remember the first, fight that I had at home about how much drinking I was doing, and it was, I was probably 27 at the time. Yeah.
And was it, obviously you said you use it as a coping mechanism. So rough day, can't save somebody, come home.
Both. I feel like I'm very typical. When I look back at the early alcoholism, I just like the effect of alcohol, right? There didn't have to be a reason. It could be a good reason. It could be a bad reason. It could be anything. I might have just been getting off work and being like, oh, cool, we're taking the little one to Disneyland today, and I'm going to get my head right before I even have to go do that.
Right.
And I use that as almost an excuse to say, well, I'm a better husband, I'm a better dad this way when I can calm my brain down and go participate, right?
Isn't it funny how when we'll use alcohol to enhance a feeling, emotion, right? Whether it's excite or suppress. Yeah. Right. And we think like, oh, I'm getting my head right for this situation. But when you suppress or enhance, you can't enhance or suppress anything else. So meaning like if you want to like drink to like get rid of your sadness, well, you can't pick and choose, right? You're also gonna drink to get rid of your happiness and your joy, even though you may think in the moment that you're still a sad motherfucker.
Totally. And the biggest thing that I never recognized when I was drinking until I found recovery, until I found the freedom from alcoholism, was that looking back, every time I took the drink to escape, the drink literally grabbed me and said, "You're my bitch now. Yeah, we're not done until I say we're done." And so
I can relate to that.
So this asshole knows where every fucking bathroom is at Disneyland, because I used to sneak bottles, in my shoe or wherever I could. I didn't want the wife checking me, right? At this point, at some point in the marriage, the wheels have fallen off, and she kind of is picking up that you drink when you say you don't drink.
You're hiding it.
Right? And I'm hiding, I'm lying in the lifestyle that I'm living. Why? Because I don't want to disappoint her. Why? Because I don't want to lose my ability to drink. Right? Why? There's a lot of whys. But the biggest why was I felt like an absolute disappointment and failure when I would do it. So I didn't want to be exposed, you know?
What was the biggest lie you would tell yourself?
Probably that the biggest one was that there was control, right? That there was some form of control here, that what I was doing, I was in control of.
How did you justify that to yourself?
Well, I didn't call off sick to work. The kids were fed. There was money in the bank. They were bathed, right? Homework was done. When she'd come home, there'd be food on the table from, she was a hairdresser at the time. So I could just look at her and say, I don't know what you have to bitch. Yeah, I've been drinking, but what do you have to bitch about? Everything is good, right? So because I could achieve all of these things drinking, it made it okay in my head.
At what point did you become honest with yourself?
Well,
'cause I'm sure there was probably multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
All right. Well, the first real honest moment that I completely had with alcoholism was my older daughter was about 3.5, and my ex-wife was pregnant with our second child. She went to go visit a friend in Sacramento, a girlfriend of hers, and left me with my youngest child. I, of course, went to mom and said, hey, would you mind watching Little Reese tonight? I'm going to go out with some friends. And so I got a night away, and that's all it takes for me. I go out, had a good day of drinking, and few Irish car bombs later, I grenaded her car on the way home. I rolled her car. I took out a fire hydrant and a light pole in the city I work in, and ended up having our agencies respond, right? Now, with all that being said, I got out of that without really any trouble for a couple reasons, right? Probably because of who I was and what how I was involved in the city. Basically, I wasn't in a situation where I wrecked anyone else's car. There was some property damage. I was given a pass, right? Mm-hmm. But that pass put me into AA. I went to AA after that because I was scared. It just was an eye opener for me. Looking back, I wish they would have dropped the hammer on me then. It might have been painful enough to get fully sober, right?
Yeah.
But that pass that I got put me at least in touch with AA. And that started a 7-year journey of going in and out of AA, trying to figure out if I could drink or I couldn't drink, or what this lifestyle was going to look like. And to be honest, Justin, looking back at the 7 years of going in and out of AA, probably the most painful, experience. That pain of going in, identifying, looking at people and saying, okay, I kind of get this, but I'm just not quite like you, right?
Right, and
so
then you turn your back on
right.
it right as you walk out,
Yeah.
and you start justifying I used to do the same thing.
Yeah.
The biggest difference is, though, is I was required to go and you were not.
Yeah, at that point.
Well, yeah.
At that point, I wasn't required.
Well, that's the thing, right?
You,
yeah. Once you actually had to face some news, and we'll get to that here. But no, thanks for answering that, because I think a lot of times, we'll admit to being victims. We'll admit to the way that we used to think about ourselves and our control issues and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But that moment of honesty and clarity, I think every alcoholic has several of those.
Oh yeah.
And how many times you accept it or turn your back on it. And it's funny because it's always in hindsight, you're like, damn, I wish that would have been the moment.
Right.
I can remember numerous occasions that it was like I can't believe I made it home. Right? I can't believe I did wake up in a jail cell, which for me was several times, and it was all stupid drinking shit.
Yeah.
But every time we look at ourselves afterwards, we're like, okay, I have a moment of clarity. Mm-hmm. I'm never drinking again.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh, and
until Thursday comes around, and then
right.
You're like, well, it wasn't that bad.
I can't tell you how many incomprehensible, demoralizing moments I had leading up to that where there was discussion, right? There was always, I knew when I started lying to my wife about how I drank that I had a problem. Mm. But I always thought that same kind of thought process where I'm not really, it's not like I'm cheating on her. It's not like this isn't a lie that really matters. Mm-hmm. Right?
Justification.
Yeah,
such a son of a bitch.
more internal justification of living a lifestyle that is, I mean,
at least I'm not that guy.
Right. Let's just face it. I mean, the reason I'm not married anymore isn't because I was an alcoholic, is because of the behaviors that came with the alcoholism, right? When someone doesn't trust you anymore, they just don't trust you.
Right.
And I can't blame her for that.
No,
at
100%.
all. You know?
No, that's, yeah, I can totally relate. I think all alcoholics can relate.
Yeah.
So you start going, you get introduced to the rooms, you start going, you continue to justify with yourself. 7 years. Of in and out.
7 years of in and out. And there were periods where I stayed sober for a while, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then I'd go back out.
Chip holding, or were you white knuckling?
Chip holding. I was going to meetings. Wasn't really participating like fully in the program. Never had done all the steps, right? I'd get into 1, 2, 3. They'd give me a 4th step. I'd start writing some stuff down. And that's about the time that something would come up, and I'd be like, yeah, I think I can have a drink, you know. And, you know, social situations, I couldn't see how I was so wrapped up in drinking as being such as my social aspect of life that every time I would want to go to a concert, I'd want to go somewhere, it was an obsessive compulsive thought, you know. It was like I didn't have a spiritual mental defense against that first drink, you know.
So was that telling yourself that you could drink like a gentleman, that was a common thing with you? Because I can tell you right now, it wasn't for me. I accepted, I was like, listen, I'm either never going to drink or I'm going to always drink.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think at some point I absolutely realized there was no right about face for me. Like I wasn't going to, no one's hat was coming off to me like the program talks about, right? Like, hey, if you can drink like a normal gentleman, our hats are off to you. Like I realized at some point that was not in the cards for me. I think at one point I was like, okay, I think that's fine. She can leave me and I think I can drink and live this lifestyle. Maybe I just need a different person to support me.
Oh, right? Yeah. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think what changed that for me...
Or like lifestyle design around your drinking. Oh, dude, I've had those fantasies before. I was like, I could do like a studio apartment and like a cool city.
And if I just found a girl that liked to drink like I did, everything would be cool.
Yeah.
Like we just be shit shows together. It'd be awesome.
I've had those fantasies in my drinking days. And I've actually tried to make that a reality numerous times to where I would even go get a place. And then it ends up being an isolation chamber, and you're just like getting fucked up by yourself, and you're just more miserable than you were.
And that's how I did my best drinking, was alone.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to be, most of the time, be around other people. I like drinking in my car. I like drinking alone.
Same with me. And same with cocaine. I would love to just get just blasted and just drink and do blow all by myself. I didn't want anyone around.
Yeah.
I didn't want people talking because, some people, they get all fucked up. They start talking and you're like, you're annoying me. Go away. I want to be weird by myself. Let me get blasted out of my mind and go look out the peephole for a half hour. Let me do anything but be around you.
Right.
That's funny.
Yeah. My story, through the 7 years, it's interesting. We ended up filing for divorce, I think about 5 years into that. She filed. She was like, I'm done. Tried to kind of blindsided me a little bit, serving me and we went, I jumped it. I immediately was like, okay, I still want to drink, but I don't want to get divorced. Right.
Yeah.
That's, I couldn't take the stigma of divorce. I wasn't my ex-wife is a great person. She's a beautiful woman and a phenomenal mother. On all levels, I have nothing but respect for her. And I think that I had to look back and realize that I put her in a very difficult situation. She saw me as a great provider. She saw me as a great dad. She saw me as the person that I was, but she knew I was sick. And I just think that she lost complete faith, that I could ever have a turnaround.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever been the kind of guy that would go into AA or personal development or anything like that, broadcast it just to get the heat off of you so you can go back to doing your old behavior?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or especially those early days. And how often I would lie going to AA and continue to drink too.
That's what I always tell guys that I coach in terms of codependency. Mm-hmm. I tell them, like, they'll be like, yeah, man, I'm smothering my girl, man. And they'll be like, what do I do? How do I get her to, like, look at me like she did back when we first met? And I tell them this: you don't show them anything. Like, don't, like, you know, I know a lot of guys will be like, you know, oh no, I'm just focusing on me, babe. I'm just reading my book, right? And it's like, dog, you're brandishing this personal development, this like new side of you, just so she gets some sort of perspective that really is artificial, right? And I always coach guys on their codependency, like, keep it to yourself.
Right.
Actually do the work. Like, keep it completely to yourself. Don't say anything to your significant other, because that's going to do more damage than like you being like, babe, I'm just going to a meeting.
Right.
And I head out to a meeting. Here I go. And like, of course you go, right? So you have something to talk about when you get back, so you can brandish more personal development for her to just roll her eyes at you and be like, you're doing this to tell me what I want to hear. But on the inside, like, you're sick at that point where you go to that extent of acting.
Right.
And I used to do that. So I you know, and I think a lot of us did.
Yeah. Bringing, so she found Al-Anon at some point. Someone encouraged her to go when we were still married. And I remember I'm doing exactly what you're saying. I'm playing the game, you know, closet drinking, not out of control, but obviously living a false lifestyle. I'm trying to say I'm working on my sobriety and staying sober, and I really don't have any intention on doing that. She found this Al-Anon program, and I truly do think it gave her some strength to get involved, right? I know now, being on the other side of this, right? I have dated someone who was alcoholic, who went back to drinking and experienced the other side. And as I went through that, man, I couldn't help but put myself in my wife's shoes, right? And say, my ex-wife's shoes, and say, you know what? This is what she was experiencing and feeling, that lack of power and control, that she wanted help for me, but there's nothing that the other person can do. The codependent in that relationship, in this sense, right? The person who, I'm the addict, I'm the one participating in all the bullshit, and all she wants is the best for me, and she has no power or control over giving me the best for me.
And she went to Al-Anon while you were still active.
While I was still active.
Which is basically like sending your wife to dinner with like all of your exes.
Right.
Because really, like, they're getting the tools, and Al-Anon is far more intense than Alcoholics Anonymous is. So they're getting all of these tools to basically either put up with your ass or leave your ass. And in most cases, they're prepping themselves to probably make to exit stage left. And
I'm certainly not saying that's the premise or the guidelines of Al-Anon or anything.
No, but it is what it is.
But I have been the double winner now. I'm the alcoholic who has also been in a codependent alcoholic relationship. Right. I've gone to Al-Anon meetings to see more information on what that's about. And I got to tell you, as the alcoholic, I'm uncomfortable being in that room.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I'm the fucking enemy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I only know from what I understand of Al-Anon and people that are in Al-Anon what they've told me. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of strength in there. And to think like you have all the same support system steps and everything as Alcoholics Anonymous, but the difference is that these people in a lot of cases aren't fucked up.
Right.
So they're getting everything and they're retaining everything, and that's lethal.
Very lethal. And especially, like you said, someone who's already armed, maybe with enough information where I'm not sure I want to be in this relationship, and now they go and they hear, this is what I did, this is what I dealt with, this is right. And so, yeah, it wasn't very long after that we were heading towards real divorce.
Yeah. How are your feelings on it looking back now?
She did absolutely the right thing for herself. And I don't think that I would have been very happy staying in that marriage sober.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I made a commitment, and I always told myself, I made a commitment. I got married, and I believe in those vows, and we certainly didn't expect things to go the way they went. But at the end of all of that, I was not going to live, walking on eggshells the rest of my life because of the mistakes that I had made as an alcoholic.
And that's really hard, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I've had numerous conversations with a lot of my friends that have been through similar things that both you and I have, and I can relate to this as well. And it's like almost to a lot of point, like, I'm not a big proponent for like couples therapy and things like that. A lot of times the trust is so gone, is so broken that both parties, like even if you wanted it to work out, 6 months.
Right.
And then what? And then things start to kind of go back to that, and that trust hasn't mended, right? It feels like new again,
right?
Temporarily, but then all of a sudden everything goes back to normal. Very rarely do you see situations where people actually do work it out.
Right. And in my case, when the boy who cries wolf enough, right? I mean, right, that's the only analogy that I can really bring to her table.
And you're going to fuck up.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, what was going to happen is I'd go to an AA meeting and I'd get wrapped up in a conversation and I'd be gone an extra 10, 15 minutes and I'm going to have to come home and explain that every time. Where did you stop? How come it took you so long to get home, right? Because that was my fucking MO. If I went to Home Depot, that was an excuse to go drink.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
So I can't fault her for how I was living and the feelings that she had. But I realized pretty quickly once she filed for divorce and we were going that route and I saw the anger and the resentment. I also saw at the time a different approach from her. She was not mean. She was not angry. She was not coming at me expecting how I'm going to take this and this. It wasn't an anger thing. This was like, how are we going to move on with our lives and be happy separate?
She was just done.
She was done.
Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can relate there. And
yeah.
That's it's almost like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, it was in that case because it wasn't a battle. We didn't have a war. I had to come to terms with she's leaving for the right reasons and I need to support this and I need to be the best dad I can be. And if I'm planning on getting sober, that ended up being right around the time that it happened for me.
The last time.
Yeah. I drank. I got a.
Because now you have it though. Now you are the bachelor, right? You went through your divorce.
Yeah.
I would imagine. Did you jump into a relationship right away?
Oh, I'm a codependent. So every fucking time I've been out of a relationship, I find the white picket fence dream to go chase again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny because that could be also like the demise of us too. Is jumping into a relationship immediately. I know for myself, I had to take some time alone.
Yeah.
I'm a codependent too, so I totally understand.
I don't think I fully understand what the term codependent meant till I went through significant PTSD therapy. Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that when I did that, I had already had this experience dating a woman in recovery who ended up going back and drinking alcoholically. And that was just a massive shit show. I didn't drink, right? I haven't drank in 9 years, right? But I felt crazier at that point than ever when I was drinking, right? And so I realized like I need to go jump into some significant therapy to kind of address these underlying issues that are causing me to really feel that way. I don't want to drink. I have a spiritual program. I mean, when I found AA, I found my people, right? Mm-hmm. And so I know I'm in the right place. I know that fellowship works for me. I'm not saying AA does not have the authority on sobriety. There's lots of ways to get sober. There's lots of ways to figure out a spiritual awakening. But it absolutely worked for me. Yeah.
I think the 12 steps in those order are good for anybody, even if you're not an addict, alcoholic, codependent, gambling addict, whatever. Like right. if everybody had an opportunity to really get honest with themselves and work those steps, they're going to find out a lot about themselves, regardless of your situation.
Oh yeah. After being in AA for 9 years, at meetings, I always say, I'm like, man, if normies could just come in here and take a little bit of this with their way that they live. I mean,
normies don't have it though.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Nobody has what we have with that.
No, you're right. It's a very, they used to tell me, welcome to the greatest fraternity known to man, right? The fire service, right? This giant, no man, it's AA. That's, and maybe it's not a fraternity, but it is a network of like-minded individuals that normally would not come together and have anything in common, but we all have a massive part of our lives that are very common. Yeah.
There's a gentleman named Jim that goes to my home meeting. And he always says nobody has a place that people love you because of your flaw. Your family loves you in spite of your drinking, right?
Right.
Your friends love you in spite of your drinking.
Right.
Oh, Shane, he's a great guy. He drinks a little too much, but he's a great guy. We love him anyways. We're Alcoholics Anonymous. We don't love you in spite. We love you because of your drinking. And imagine a place where everybody loves you because of your illness, not in spite of your illness and shortcomings. And that's something that nobody really has. And then nobody really has a place to go to where everybody's dealing with the same thing. There's support groups for things, stuff like that, but like we have a very unique bond with each other, and that's an illness that's killing us.
Yeah,
right?
It's incredible. The networking and friendships that have come into my life just because I decided to walk in the rooms of AA. Absolutely, it's incredible. My business partner I met from AA that I own the gym with.
Yeah. So tell me about the gym.
So the gym, man, it's perfect time because basically, here it is. Let's see. My sobriety date is December 31st, 2015. Yeah, okay. New Year's Eve. Tell
me about that New Year's Eve.
So I'll backtrack just a little bit. Divorce basically occurs at the very beginning of 2015. It's like she hits me with it around December of 2014, and we're in agreement, and we're heading that direction. Everything's going pretty good. And then what does Shane go out and do? Gets a DUI, right? So I wasn't, obviously this is where the dabbling of sobriety, I'm going in and out, I'm struggling, she's leaving, she's done. All right, well, time to jump on Plenty of Fish and go on a date to a winery. And I don't drink a lot of wine. So then I drive home from this event and I get a DUI, right? That gets back to the fire service, obviously, and I jump into an outpatient program. My union president said, dude, check out of life and go get fucking help. And I wouldn't do it. So I jump in an outpatient program because I'm not willing to give up life, right? I'm not going to let this take away everything I've worked so hard for. But yet, without conquering this alcohol problem, I'm going to have nothing. And I don't see it that way yet, right? So I jump into this outpatient program. Eventually, it gets to the point later in the year 2015 where they take away my driver's license. I get temporarily demoted at work, just a lot of pain and just shit that I'm dealing with. Getting divorced, and of course, being the codependent I am, I have a new friend in my life that I'm talking to, and that friend kind of came in and out of my life a little bit, and she met me and I was staying sober. She disappeared for a while. I drank. This is like October, November of 2015. And she shows back up one day and I had been drinking. This happens to be December 30th, 2015. She stops by my house to say hi. I don't really know why, but she asked me, she had never seen me drinking and I had been drinking that day. So she asked me, have you been drinking? And as you probably are well aware, that's got to be the worst thing you ever ask an alcoholic who is hiding in the closet trying to get away with his drinking, right? So I immediately wanted to lie to her to protect my drinking and to protect my status. But she didn't really know me that way. She met me and she kind of heard my struggle. She knew I was trying to get sober, and I ended up just telling her the truth. And I don't know what magic happened, dude, but when I told the truth, she said, I can't believe you told me the truth. And I felt the exact same way. I was like, I'm not really even sure why I just said that. Like, yeah, I've been drinking and I don't really know why. And that was the truth too. I didn't know why. I didn't want to be drinking. I didn't want to be in the situation I was in. I had a sponsor. I'm lying to everybody, right? I'm a fraud. I'm in AA and I'm not doing any AA. And so she encouraged me, can you call your sponsor? And I said, no, actually, I need you to leave. And she goes, why? I said, I'm going to tell you the truth. I got more booze to drink, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to call my sponsor tomorrow morning. And that's what I did. And so she left. I drank. I woke up, went to the gym the next morning, And on the way out of the gym, I called my sponsor, who happens to be my business partner today, right?
Oh, wow.
He was sponsoring me at the time. My business partner's name is Jamil Saeed. He owns Sober Livings today. He helped me open the gym, and he was a corrections officer. He worked in corrections. I met him in AA, and we kind of developed a friendship over the years going in and out, and we ended up back in. He had about 9 months of sobriety, and he was my sponsor because the guys that we rolled with assigned him to me. That's how those guys rolled. All right. You're going to work with him because he's just as sick as you. And he was. So we end up working together. I call him. I told him I've been lying to you. He said, "You've been lying to me?" And I said, "Yeah, dude, please. I'm calling to tell you the truth. I drank yesterday." He goes, "I was at your house yesterday. We did step work." I said, "Yeah, when you left, I drank. And then I drank into the night. And I'm calling to tell you the truth that I haven't had many days I've been sober the last few weeks, you know?" And so he said, "Well, shit. Well, I don't even know why I'm giving you such a hard time. I lied to my sponsor too, right?" So he made me feel better. And he said, "Well, are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah, man, I'm calling to tell you that I'm ready." And I feel like the truth absolutely set me free. Just being honest and being able to tell the truth gave me a whole new ability to look at this disease differently.
I felt that.
Yeah. I mean, and that was it, dude. That he said, "Are you ready to get to work?" I said, "Yep." And we got to work. We went back to step one and we did everything over again. And I did all 12 steps the first year. And at the end of that year, I was like on a pink cloud. I'm dating this girl now, the one that I told the truth to be sober, right? So I wrangled her into my codependencies, and we started a relationship, and I'm a year sober, and all of this shit, right? The wreckage of the past starts to build up, man. And it fucking comes at me, and it's work related at this point. Like they're not happy with the DUI. They're not happy with certain performances. And I'm with a crew that is kind of watching me like a hawk because, you know, maybe that's what the captain was probably told. Like, "Hey, keep an eye on this guy. Like, we're not real sure what's going on with him." And so I was an engineer on a ladder truck, right? Full on 100-foot aerial. And so my operations was to, you know, maintain and operate this piece of equipment as an engineer. And so basically I'm a year sober, and this piece of equipment gets found that something is wrong with the check. And there's a backtrack the story. Remember when I said when I took out a fire hydrant and a light pole and the agency got involved a little bit? Well, there was a battalion chief at that time who really wanted to throw the book at me, right? And basically didn't get to. Well, he promoted to deputy chief at the time that this is now going on where I'm actually sober. This is 7 years later, remember. So now he's a deputy chief, and I just feel like I have given this guy plenty of reasons to look at me. And so when this piece of equipment came back, as there was a checkout that was done and somebody else found something wrong with the aerial ladder. And they came back and basically said, we're gonna send you home because we don't think that you checked this out, and did an investigation into whether or not the equipment was checked properly by me. Justin, it's the weirdest fucking thing in the world when I look back and think why that happened. Like, looking back, I was like, I'm a year sober. My life is going great. These guys are fucking throwing me home and throwing the book at me over all this shit. Like, what is going on, right? And I went home and I had to really like dive into like some soul searching. This investigation ended up taking like 8 months that I was off work, and they ended up demoting me. I ended up going from engineer to firefighter over this, between the DUI and the other issues that they stuck on me, right? Stuck on me deservingly, but at the same time, I'm a year sober. Like, my life is going in the right direction, and now I'm having to deal with the wreckage of this past, right? Mm-hmm. The issues that I brought up from my alcoholism. And yet, what did I do? I opened a gym in those 8 months.
Oh, wow.
So you make me go sit on idle hands, and that's what I do. right?
I love that, though.
Yeah.
So you guys opened the gym with Miguel originally?
Yeah. So Jamil, my business partner, is working out at Self-Made Corona, gets an opportunity to meet Miguel. Miguel tells us about the franchise opportunity, tells him. Now at this point, I'm a year sober. Jamil's my sponsor. You know, we have this friendship relationship through AA, and we go to this business meeting. Miguel Aguilar is now opening Costa Mesa as his location. So we go meet him there, and we dive into the business model a little bit. And man, Miguel is an impressive person. He just really, you know, that guy could sell ice to an Eskimo, man. He was bred to be a salesman from the time he was a child. The way he was raised, the way he lived, the way he had to adapt, the way he had to overcome things. I mean, very, very. If you ever met him, I mean, he was just such a. He just drew you in, you know. He was that kind of guy. And he's a stud. He fucking worked his ass off. He worked hard. Definitely. I met him and right away I was like, man, like this guy's a go-getter, right? But the first thing I realized was that, he was interested in selling franchises, you know? And so he was going to tell us what we wanted to hear. And I did my diligence on the numbers. And ultimately, when I walked out of that meeting, I told Jamil, I said, hey man, let's put all the numbers together and see, right? It was a new franchise, so it wasn't like you can go out and get a loan, and so we had to get kind of creative and just figure out what kind of money we could put together to start this thing. And it was a lot of fun, and it was scary as shit. But I kept saying, if we build it, they will come, and that remained to be true. I mean, we opened and everything went great. We were stoked all the way up till about. That obviously affected every gym for a while, but
it's wild how many gyms were opened and then that happened.
Yeah. So opening the gym from that point, I mean, it was, it was an exciting time, dude. It was a very different time of life. My business partner became the operations manager of the gym, and I became the financial officer as far as the background stuff. And that's the way we ran it for really up to about last year. Yeah.
I love that. So, you've had some time sober by now, and then all of a sudden you started linking up with guys like Fausto, Jeremy Jackson, myself, things like that. Obviously you've been sober for a while.
Right.
When did you start mixing up with guys in the scene?
Well, what really has happened in my life was that I was totally comfortable being, a business owner and a firefighter. I knew that I loved sponsorship. I mean, the best times in my life, again, go back to the injury thing. In the 7 years when I found AA, I talked about some of the struggles. Obviously the dust settles. I'm back at work as a firefighter. I'm, going through the motions of going to meetings, maintaining a sober lifestyle, operating a business, and trying to be a good dad and enjoy life. I had a lot on my plate as it was, so I just I found a lifestyle to build through AA and sobriety, and fitness. Now with owning a gym became part of that tool of supporting that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And so as this goes, just in general, getting to meet people in the recovery world, eventually I am completely comfortable in that. I'm hardly, to be honest, during those years, I was hardly at the gym. It wasn't like, most of my business work I could do from home.
Yeah.
Right? So even my workout routine wasn't really even in my own gym, because my gym's in Orange County and I live in Corona. So as all this is kind of coming together, I'm picturing my lifestyle in the fire service. Like, okay, I'm happy with the money I make in the fire service. The gym's doing good. I get to be a dad. I'm getting to be a partner to somebody in my life. Do I have time for anything else? And honestly, I didn't feel like I really did. When last year occurred, and like I said, when I got into that place where I was feeling crazier between the fire service, between lifestyle, between different things happening than I ever felt before, I was like, this isn't something that sobriety is fixing, So real therapy. When I jumped into the real therapy aspect, it opened my mind and it opened my heart to some different things. I love the fire service. Why? Because I understand it. I was a fireman for 25 years. I can go jump on a fire engine and make overtime money, and I'm comfortable. It's easy. But yet the lifestyle is dragging me down mentally, physically, and emotionally at this point. And so between the injuries I have in my neck and the other things that were happening, and then the PTSD therapy, I just decided I don't want to go back and do that. And so I really got back to the centered roots last year of what recovery is for me. What is the lifestyle of recovery that I want? Fitness and this aspect of that make me happy. Being with those people make me happy. Surrounding myself by positive, like-minded people make me happy. And that joy comes back into my house. It comes to my kids. It comes to my significant other. And I preach this to all of my sponsees. Hey man, build the life that you want. And yet I'm going to go back to the fire service that makes me unhappy just because there's money there, you know?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I like that. It's one thing that's special too. And we're very fortunate because where we live we're in the epicenter of sobriety personalities, right? This whole entire community is so big and profound here. If you think about it, I mean, just alone, you know, owning a self-made franchise, right? Which is notoriously, you know, started by a notoriously sober guy, right?
Right.
And God rest his soul, you know, and I've only ever, you know, I've only been able to meet him briefly. And just like you said, big personality, really great guy. Yeah. I almost got in bed with a self-made facility in Irvine, and I'm glad I didn't. But
yeah, you are. No, I'm just kidding. No, I love the gym, but yeah, owning a brick and mortar is a different deal. Yeah,
for sure, definitely. And but at the same time, it's like, you know, everything that's going on right where we are, in you know, from Corona to Huntington and Newport and Costa Mesa. I was talking to somebody else about it. It's like we live a dream for the things that we're passionate about. So if you're passionate about fitness and sobriety and networking in this community, it makes sense that, you know, you're here, right around all of it. So because it is power in proximity, you know what I mean, and being here with it. So it was cool to see that you linked up with Fausto, because Fausto was one of my first friends
Fausto is in the gym training with one of our boxing coaches, and I don't even know how we started talking, but it was just instant. It was instantaneous for he and I too. And as soon as we found out we were in recovery, we go and have a little lunch together and chop it up and get to know each other. And it was right away. I mean, he's me, but he's Fausto. You know what I mean? So that aspect. Now, he tells me, we start talking about networking. I start talking to him about, well, here's where I am in life. I've been the sobriety guy who's sponsored hundreds of dudes. I love fitness. I friggin' have opened a gym. My kids are now 15 and 20 years old, and I'm in a different place in life. I've left the fire service, right? So how do I want to be of service to people today? And so that conversation with Fausto kind of led me to you.
Yeah, it's wild.
You know?
No, and I'm so glad it did. And you know, him and I, like I said, we're very close. He's been on the show a number of times, and he's a really, really special dude. And he's really, obviously done well with his own personal brand and all of that.
Dude, that guy is, I mean, you know when people have a heart of gold and are doing it for all the right reasons, and it's just obvious.
No, 100%. So no, I'm glad he did. So let's talk about then your program now and what the vision is there. Tell me about,
Yeah. So I thought about it and I'm like, okay, so, if I want to really help people with fitness and lifestyle change, right? Specifically, people like me, I might have been somebody that could have gotten away with drinking longer. I could have maybe even have alcohol in my life today and have all the consequences and problems that come with that. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are living that way, right? That they're not really sure, they're on the fence. I don't know if moderation can work for you or not. I know it can't work for me. So what happened to me was that I thought, I love sponsoring guys, but I love fitness too. So I developed a coaching program to try to essentially change lifestyle habits, right? Mindset. It's not AA, but if you're someone that comes to me with a drinking problem, I'm probably going to refer you to go try to get sober first.
Right.
Because I can't really help you if you're not willing to bring the right mindset to, the program. And the program is mindset. We jump on coaching calls twice a week. And we essentially talk about those wins. We talk about the struggles that you're having. We talk about the nutrition struggles that you're having, because it's an overall encompassing lifestyle that I'm trying to help people with. I'm not the advocate that's going to tell you don't go to In-N-Out Burger and enjoy a burger with your family. I'm going to say, can you do that and get back on track? I can't have one drink over the weekend and get back on track.
Right.
It doesn't work that way for me.
Nope.
So these are the kinds of coaching aspects that we can talk about. And you got to be honest and tell me, like, hey, this is the struggles that I have and how am I going to overcome them? Now, what I utilize is, Trainer Eyes, Fitness app, right? We put people on a program. We tell them how to work out, monkey see, monkey do. That's all easy shit. I think, for the most part, showing people how to go lift weights or get their body moving is the easy part of this job. The hard part of this job is getting people in the right mindset to live the lifestyle that they truly want to live.
What would you tell somebody that's coming into your program that is questionable about the mindset? What's the first thing they need to do?
Well, I think the first thing I had to do, just like I shared, was I had to get honest.
Yeah.
I had to get honest with me. I had to look in the mirror and say, okay, let's use this quick little analogy, right? I have a gun that works 50% of the time, right? When I pick it up and I shoot it, sometimes it shoots and sometimes it doesn't. Is that the gun I'm going to defend my family with? Would you be, right? Is that the gun you're going to pick up or the other side of that equation is, hey, that gun only works 50% of the time. It's cool. You can play Russian roulette with it. Go ahead, take a click. See when it's going to go off, right? You don't know. I don't know when my alcoholism is going to go off. I don't know when your food disorder is going to go off. I don't know when your sexual desires are going to go. I don't know what your problems are, but I know we all got them. I can really help people with the idea of, I've sponsored hundreds of guys that are willing to take themselves through the program of recovery. So if you're willing to change your mindset, it's not hard.
But it starts with the honesty.
I think it starts completely with your own honesty. Sometimes it takes a little bit of recognition. And unfortunately for most of us, recognition comes with a shit ton of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I've said this in AA meetings for years now. Oftentimes, the preclude or the thing that's going to propel you into change is pain. And for most of us, that just remains to be true no matter what it is.
100%. How many guys though? Because like you and I both, like, slap on the wrist. I had a couple devastating situations that were bigger. Like in the grand scheme of things, I should have been in a lot more trouble than I really was. But at the end of the day, I still was able, like you said, manage the household, bills are paid, jobs there, all of that stuff. I truly think that in many cases, that's the most dangerous place for an alcoholic to be.
Completely, man. There's still money in the bank. Right? And when you still have options, we don't look at the pain, solving the real pain as the option. I continued to pile more over the pain to mask it, right? And I know that today. I know looking back that was the precursor to change for me is pain. In recovery, I try to tell myself all the time, hey, I don't really like this. How much pain do I have to be in before I'm willing to change today? And
would you say that's negotiating or?
Well, I think sometimes you are. I think sometimes I am saying that to myself because this is your opportunity to stop this now, or are you going to continue down this road? It's not like it's my first rodeo at this point, and yet sobriety is the problem.
It's funny. I've never heard that. I've heard them all. I haven't heard that one. Sobriety. That was the best thing I've heard all day.
Well, I'm telling you, man, I've said I'm a slow learner. I'm not a slow learner. That's not it. I can fucking learn shit. Yeah. I can apply it. I can do it all. But when it comes to this pain point of change, this pain point of, oh, yeah. Well, now, you know what? I'm not drinking. It's okay that I was told I probably shouldn't get in a relationship in the first year, but I mean, I'm not drinking, so what's the big deal?
So how many times do you have to touch?
How many times do you have to touch the same pain points before you're willing to take a break and work on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm. I said something, I wrote something the other day on one of my blogs, and it was, I have to focus on myself I have to focus on myself or else I'm a burden on you.
Right. Focus on myself
or else I'm a burden on you.
I think that's a very true statement when it comes to alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe addicts in general.
Yeah, I think anybody that is dealing with anything like that, codependency, trauma, PTSD, alcoholism, things like that, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at it, and I use the analogy all the time, but the oxygen mask in the plane, you put it on yourself. Well, the reason isn't to save yourself first, and it not even necessarily is to save the person next to you. Of course, that's part of it, but also because if you pass out, you're everybody else's burden.
Problem too, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You want to carry my 280-pound ass out of the airplane when it hits ground, right? Like,
right.
You're the burden, and I think a lot of people need to have that wake up call and realize that you're the burden, right?
And definitely, right? Like at some point, if you've been introduced to a program of recovery because you've had multiple issues, multiple things that have come in your life, like me. Someone like me, and I continue to ignore that, I am 1,000% the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nobody to blame at this point when you have, and I get it. Ed, believe me, I went to AA for 7 years and I thought that I could outwit alcoholism. I thought that I could learn enough about it to figure out how to control the drink. And I mean, the book talks about that excessively, right? The great obsession of every alcoholic is to control their drinking.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Right. And so what? What am I going to ride this? Hey, I'm obsessive and compulsive enough. I'm just glad that I let go of that obsessive, right? I do not have that obsession anymore. There is no thought in my head that controlling drinking is a possibility.
Yeah.
And that is a mindset that you can teach somebody if they're willing to do the honest work and the writing and the things that they're going to expose of themselves, right?
Facts.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'll negotiate with myself on pretty much everything except alcohol. I'll be like, no, it's
right.
not. That's not going to work.
Right.
And now I've had to learn that, you know, and it's minor stuff compared to that. Nothing that would burn my life down. But again, like, yeah, when it comes to drugs and alcohol, it's like, yeah, there's no negotiating.
Yeah. No, there isn't. And so what I've found out in working with you guys and launching a real, you know, what I call Fit Life Recovery, you know, coaching program is that there's kind of a balance for me in approaching this. My ideal person I want to help is somebody who wants a lifestyle similar to what I've achieved, right? Let's curb the bad habits. Let's get honest about, you know, what character defects you have and how they come out, how that affects your lifestyle. Let's get in the gym. Let's get some discipline. Let's get some motivation in your life. You know, I don't care if you want to be the fittest, you know, guy or girl on the, you know, in your area, but if you want to be better, I guarantee the program will help you on all aspects, right? Mentally, physically, emotionally. And one of the things that I care most about in my life, I am not the Bible thumper. I'm not going to walk around talking about God everywhere. I have my beliefs and I absolutely have no problem expressing those. But what I tell people is that I don't care what you believe, just don't let yourself run the show anymore. Find something else to tap into, right? That AA message to me was a power greater than myself. I came into Alcoholics Anonymous with my own belief of, you know, being raised Catholic and right, my own religious upbringing. My current realm of that is completely different. My relationship with my higher power, which I choose to call God today, is between me and God. I don't care what the church thinks. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I care about that I go to my God and I ask for guidance in how I make my decisions today.
So what's one thing that you would tell somebody that would be your ideal person that you'd want to work with right now that's watching this and is thinking about like what the options are?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I will tell anybody is, alcoholism is a self-diagnosed disease. And unfortunately, you probably got, most of the time talking to people, they'll tell me that their neighbors, their significant other, right, family, closest people to them have probably called them out on some form. They're starting to have some problems. They're starting to have some lifestyle problems. They're starting to have some situations, work, law. If you can relate to that, I've been there, and you can get out of it. And you don't have to ride this thing any further to change the course, right? You don't have to get the DUI. You don't have to hit significant bottoms to change the course. And quite frankly, I don't know if it means you have to quit drinking or not. But I know for someone like me, that's what it meant. It meant that I had to quit drinking in order to have these other things.
I love that. This was great.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. I feel like programming wise, and bringing in the kinds of people I'm working with now, mostly people that are struggling in recovery. Mm-hmm. And that want to lose weight, that want to get on a fitness journey, that want to learn about nutrition, how to eat properly to support their new lifestyle. Why are they having sugar cravings after they quit drinking? Right? Things that people don't...
Big surprise. Right. They're used to putting a lot of sugar in there.
Yeah, people that don't understand the things that I've learned over a decade of doing this.
Mm-hmm. This is great, man.
Yeah, awesome, brother. I appreciate being here, man.
This is cool. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you shoot a comment. We're going to put all of Shane's information, ways that you can contact him below. Go shoot him some love. We appreciate you. We'll catch you next time on the Justin Wenzel Podcast. We're fucking out.
Thank you, guys.